U.S. political pressure growing over investment in China. Earlier this month, Senator Marco Rubio introducing a bill that would prevent federal retirement savings programs from investing in Chinese stocks. Our next guest tries to help investors evaluate human and economic freedom when they invest. Life and Liberty indexes use a freedom weighting approach to overweight freer countries, underweight less free countries, and excludes the worst human rights offenders. Its founder, Perth Tolle, joins us now. Perth, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
I'm curious, obviously your approach, your index, your ETF, it underweights companies or countries that have bad human rights and democracy track records. How do you actually quantify that so that you can make it an investable factor?
Yeah, so the data has to be very robust, it has to be transparent, it has to be objective. So we use data from the Cato Institute, the Fraser Institute, and the Friedrich Niemann Foundation for Freedom out of Germany. They have a joint project called the Human Freedom Index and Dataset that we use. And we've worked with these guys for quite some time. We operate independently from them, and they are independent from us, so we don't influence their scoring in any way. And they score each country on a set of variables, 79 different variables encompassing rights to human freedoms and economic freedoms.
I mean, how do you structure sort of an investment plan that sort of factors China out of the equation when it's such a huge market, at least whether it's for consumer goods, manufacturing, and now technology?
Yeah, so you're talking about the excluded countries.
Yes,
China is one of the
correct,
excluded.
yeah.
Yeah, so we don't have any allocation to China, Russia, Egypt.
But when you say allocation, I mean, what about indirect allocation? I mean, can you invest in, I don't know, Apple or Tesla, which are setting up, have physical operations
Absolutely.
there?
You cannot get away from indirect China allocation.
Okay.
So every emerging market does trade with China, invest in China. We have big allocations in Taiwan, South Korea, Chile, all big traders with China. And so we have that indirect allocation, which is also in the market cap weighted indexes. And we do have indirect allocation to China, absolutely. We can't get away from that. But we don't have the direct allocation.
We just saw pictures of Marco Rubio there. How much has this focus from the government and potentially talks of capital, a capital war that's brewing between the US and China, how much has that delivered people of interest in your particular indices? Have you seen an uptick?
Yeah, so I've seen a lot more interest. I don't know if that's going to turn into anything bigger than that. We, as freedom indexers, do not typically advocate for government interference in private markets. So we are here to, the good news is we have a private free market solution for it already. So, we don't arbitrarily exclude China or any other country. We use freedom weighting so that the freer countries get a higher weight, the less free countries get a lower weight, and the worst offenders are excluded just naturally because of the freedom weighting. So that's what we try to bring, a different option for investors who maybe don't want that China exposure in their emerging markets like Marco Rubio, but still want to invest in emerging markets.
So everyone likes the idea that you can get higher returns and also invest with, more in line with your values, and so people pitch green indices or other funds and indexes that associate with something about sustainability, and they find a way to say that it also delivers better returns. When you look historically at how your approach does, how important is democratic accountability and human rights in the long-term performance of various markets?
Yeah, so we're looking at very long-term, and if you look at history, you can see that the freer markets tend to be more dynamic, and the less free markets tend to be, they tend to stagnate. So the best example of that right now is probably Venezuela as the most unfree market in the index, or in the data set that we use, not in our index. So yeah, freer markets tend to have more sustainable returns. They tend to recover faster from drawdowns, and they tend to use their capital and labor more efficiently and have less capital flight and capital destruction. So in the long run, yes, we absolutely expect freer countries to outperform, but you can't look at that on a day-to-day basis. You have to look at decades.